Hey there. I want to share in this video two fun things about Amazon SageMaker that I just discovered or I just stumbled upon, again I want to share with you. So first of all, when I came to Amazon SageMaker, I found that they had these custom estimators and then this ability to dynamically kick off training jobs and model actual deployment from SageMaker using these instances that you spin up and tear down. So if you haven't seen that, you create a notebook instance and then you have these training jobs and then you have these actual models and you set endpoints for them. So the model gets stored, you configure an endpoint. The point being, the point being amidst all these points is that the notebook interface is kind of this environment where you write your code, yes, but you actually when you're running your model training, you're specifying a different EC2 instance to run that's good for the actual model training you have. And when you deploy a model, you're specifying another one. But there's a downside to that, and that's the actual model training or model deployment takes 6 to 7 minutes. And for deployment, that's no big deal because for most of us working on a laptop, you don't have any way of deploying a model as an endpoint, as a REST API, as something that's publicly available. So that's fine. But for model training, that's a little annoying. So what I wanted to show here was just how you can use inside of a Conda Python 3 environment, how you can install a package that's not present in the SageMaker. SageMaker gives you a ton of packages. I'm going to install Teapot, which is a package for automated model building. And there's a reason why I'm doing that, and I'll tell you in a second. But I'm going to use pip to install that. And I use an exclamation point or a bang in front of pip install, and that's going to run this command in the terminal for me from my Jupyter notebook. So it goes ahead and installs Teapot, and I'm also going to install XGBoost, and I do the exact same thing with the bang in front. And so now I have XGBoost and Teapot inside of my SageMaker notebook instance here, and I also have all of the other libraries that the SageMaker gives us via Conda. So super, super nice. Then I'm going to run through a very basic Teapot example. And what Teapot does, I said it's a automated model builder. And the reason why this matters is because I can pass in some training data, the MNIST data set here. And I can pass this in and it will run through a bunch of different models for me. And I can set some kind of hyperparameters of the hyperparameters, if you will. And Teapot will run through these different models and pick the best one and output the results. So at the end of this model training process, it gives me a model that's 98% accurate. And at the end of the day, it's using a gradient boosting classifier nested within a K-neighbors gotten sold for me by Teapot. The reason I picked this though is because this automated model building in general takes a long time, and it took a long time here inside of my notebook instance. So I'm not racking up more than maybe a penny or two. I mean, the usage here is still relatively cheap, but it took roughly, it looks like I think total time here like 25 minutes or so for this basic example to run. So here was a good example where you could use scikit-learn and other tools and run your training jobs locally inside of SageMaker, but it definitely makes sense to spin up one of those EC2 instances and pay the 6 or 7 minute model training price to get to get much better performance, where you can use a massive honkin' like EC2 instance and rip through something like this. It makes sense to do that when you're going to sit here and spin for 25 minutes inside of a notebook instance. So anyway, that's all I have. Is you can use SageMaker, you can install packages that don't ship with the base SageMaker instance via pip or conda or anything. Just make sure you use the little bang here and you're good to go. And then, hey, it may seem a little annoying that it takes a second to spin up an EC2 instance, or it takes 6 to 7 minutes to spin up one of these EC2 instances. But depending on the workload, right, that can, or in a lot of cases, that will quickly become actually much, much faster, like in this one, doing automated model building with Teapot. So hope you find this useful, and go out there and make some machine learning models.